An 85-year-old golf legend just walked out of a Florida courtroom with a $50 million verdict that sent shockwaves through the entire sports business world. Jack Nicklaus didn't just win a legal battle against some random competitor. He absolutely demolished the company that bears his own name, exposed their dirty tactics, and proved that even at his age, nobody messes with the Golden Bear and walks away unscathed. The jury deliberated for just 4.5 hours before delivering a verdict that felt less like justice and more like complete vindication for one of golf's most respected figures. What makes this story absolutely wild is that Jack Nicklaus sold his entire brand to these people back in 2007 for $145 million, thinking he had found the perfect partners to carry on his legacy. Billionaire banker Howard Milstein and his Nicklaus companies seemed to have the resources and the vision to take the Golden Bear empire to new heights. For a decade, things ran relatively smooth until Nicklaus stepped down as an executive in 2017 and became locked into a 5-year non-compete agreement that prevented him from doing what he does best: designing world-class golf courses. The moment that the non-compete expired in 2022, Jack wanted to get back to work under his own name. And that is when everything exploded into legal warfare. The betrayal goes deeper than anyone expected, and the tactics they used were downright disgusting. Milstein's Nicklaus companies didn't just file a standard breach of contract lawsuit when Jack tried to go independent. They launched a full-scale assault on his reputation that would make a political hit job look tame by comparison. The strategy was calculated and vicious, designed to destroy the one thing Jack Nicklaus valued more than any championship trophy he'd ever won. They went after his credibility, his mental fitness, and his standing in the golf community with fabricated stories that spread like wildfire through industry circles. The first major lie they planted involved LY Golf and a supposed $750 million offer that Jack allegedly considered taking to abandon the PGA Tour for Saudi money. According to court evidence that came out during the trial, this rumor wasn't some accidental misunderstanding or miscommunication between business partners. Jack's legal team proved that Nicklaus companies deliberately spread this story to paint him as a greedy sellout who would betray everything the PGA Tour represented for the right price. The narrative was perfect for their purposes because it made Jack look like a hypocrite who preached loyalty while secretly negotiating with the controversial Saudi-backed league that had torn the golf world apart. But the second attack was even more personal, and it was calculated to strip away his autonomy completely. Whispers started circulating through golf industry circles that Jack Nicklaus was experiencing cognitive decline and that he could not be trusted to make his own business decisions anymore. The implications were brutal because they were not just questioning his business judgment, they were suggesting that dementia had taken hold and that someone needed to step in and protect him from himself. Eugene Stearns, Jack's lead attorney, exposed this tactic in court by showing how the company used these dementia rumors to justify taking control of every aspect of the Nicklaus brand without his input or approval. The strategy was genius from a ruthless business standpoint, because if people believed Jack could not think clearly, the Nicklaus companies could position themselves as the responsible guardians of his legacy, rather than the greedy opportunists they actually were. When the trial started and witnesses began taking the stand, the whole ugly truth started spilling out through emails, recorded phone conversations, and internal company documents that showed exactly how deep this betrayal ran. The jury got to see firsthand how Milstein's team had been using Jack's name, face, and reputation to cut deals he never approved, collect money from partnerships he knew nothing about, and essentially treat him like a mascot they owned rather than a living legend who built the brand they were exploiting. The evidence presented in that courtroom revealed a level of corporate backstabbing that shocked even experienced legal observers. One of the most damning pieces of evidence showed that Nicklaus companies had been running advertisements using Jack's voice and image for commercial deals without getting his consent, treating his likeness like company property they could use however they wanted. The jury learned that these were not minor promotional materials or standard brand extensions covered under existing contracts. These were entirely new business ventures that should have required Jack's explicit approval, but they proceeded anyway because the company figured he was too old and powerless to fight back effectively. The defense team tried to play the confusion card, suggesting that Jack simply misremembered details of conversations and agreements because of his advanced age. That strategy backfired spectacularly because it essentially confirmed what Jack's team had been arguing all along: that Nicklaus companies viewed him as incompetent and were actively working to marginalize him from the empire he had spent 6 decades building. Every time the defense lawyers implied that Jack's memory was faulty or his understanding was limited, they were essentially admitting they saw him as mentally diminished, which only reinforced the defamation claims against them. Then Jack Nicklaus himself took the witness stand and delivered testimony that completely changed the energy in that courtroom. There was no confusion, no hesitation, and no sign of the cognitive decline that Nicklaus companies had spent months insinuating to anyone who would listen. Jack spoke clearly about the specific conversations he had, the deals he had rejected, and the principles that guided every major decision throughout his legendary career. His voice carried the same quiet confidence that had intimidated competitors for decades, and when he talked about what his father taught him about protecting your name and reputation, you could feel the jury connecting with him on a deeply human level. The only moment his composure cracked even slightly was when he explained why the PGA Tour loyalty accusation hurt so badly after everything he had done to build and support that organization throughout his entire professional life. If you want to know more about this story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a like, because this resolution gets even better. After Jack finished testifying, the defense team looked like they knew they had lost before the jury even left to deliberate. The case they had tried to build around a confused old man who could not manage his own affairs had just been obliterated by that same man delivering crystal-clear testimony that exposed every lie they had told. When the jury foreman stood up and announced the $50 million verdict in Jack's favor, the courtroom erupted in a way that felt more like a major championship victory than a legal proceeding. The LIV golf controversy deserves its own explanation, because that is where Nicklaus companies really showed their true colors. There absolutely was a 2021 meeting between Jack and representatives from Golf Saudi, the organization funding LIV Golf's aggressive expansion into professional golf. A Nicklaus company's executive actually set up that meeting to discuss a potential golf course design project in Saudi Arabia, which was completely within the scope of Jack's existing contractual obligations. During that conversation, the Saudi representatives did what any ambitious organization would do, and they tested the waters to see if Jack would consider a larger role as a figurehead or advisor for their new league. Jack's response was immediate and unequivocal according to sworn testimony from multiple witnesses who were in that room. He told them straight up that if the PGA Tour was not supporting LIV Golf, then he would not be involved either, regardless of how much money they offered or what kind of prestige they promised. That decision cost him what could have been the biggest payday of his life, but it was consistent with everything Jack Nicklaus has ever stood for throughout his entire career. The fact that Nicklaus companies took this straightforward business meeting and twisted it into a narrative about Jack secretly negotiating to betray the PGA Tour shows exactly how far they were willing to go to damage his reputation. The Palm Beach County jury did not just side with Jack Nicklaus. They sent a message that reputational damage through deliberate lies will not be tolerated even in cutthroat business environments. Their verdict specifically stated that Nicklaus companies had defamed Jack by spreading falsehoods that exposed him to ridicule, hatred, distrust, and contempt in his professional community. Eugene Stearns explained to reporters after the trial that proving reputational damage for someone as respected as Jack Nicklaus is incredibly difficult because his reputation was basically bulletproof going into this situation. But the LIV golf lie was different because it struck at the core of what made Jack Nicklaus respected in the first place, his unwavering loyalty and integrity. This verdict was the culmination of a multi-year legal war that played out across several courts and jurisdictions. Back in July 2024, a Florida arbitrator had already ruled in Jack's favor by releasing him from the non-compete clause, which gave him back the right to design golf courses independently. Then, in April 2025, a New York judge delivered another victory by confirming that Jack Nicklaus has full rights to use his own name, image, and likeness for new business ventures without needing permission from Nicklaus companies. The company still owns the Golden Bear trademarks for clothing and golf equipment, but the man himself finally regained control over his own identity. So where does Jack Nicklaus go from here after burning down his own company and walking away with $50 million? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and share this video because stories like this need to be heard.